With CWL mismatches, Town Hall 17s can be quite common and difficult to deal with, but there is one Town Hall 15 strategy you can use to 3-star them consistently. So let's break down the army and how you can use it, along with an example to help you 3-star any Town Hall 17 as a Town Hall 15. First things first, this army is broken up into 3 parts: the Royal Champion Charge, the Funneling, and the Root Rider Smash. On screen is a visual of the troops and spells needed for each part of this attack, but one part that isn't included is using my creator code CORRUPT to support me and everything I do here on the channel. The first part consists of using the Royal Champion and the Grand Warden in a Royal Champion Charge. This is where you'll want to use multiple invisibility spells and a recall spell to return them to your army. Since the Royal Champion isn't too strong at Town Hall 15 when going up against a Town Hall 17, using the Warden with his Rage Gem enables your Royal Champion to do a lot more damage thanks to the Rage Gem's damage boost. You will usually want to start with her rocket spears to clear out defenses in front of the Royal Champion before sending in the Grand Warden to follow behind her. This sets up pathing for her and the Warden as they move between defenses. Follow this up by using invisibility spells every 4 seconds to keep both herself and the Grand Warden alive. Since you have 5 invisibility spells to use, don't be afraid to use them over defenses as your Royal Champion moves between them. Her Electro Boots are able to deal damage even when the defenses are invisible. If you are dealing with invisibility spell towers, however, you may want to sacrifice 1 invisibility spell and 1 skeleton spell to activate it before starting your Royal Champion Charge. Likewise, you can also use the Ice Block spell over both the Grand Warden and Royal Champion to freeze them in place so their pathing doesn't get messed up once the spell tower goes off. However, once you have cleared enough value, you can recall them both back into your army to be used later on. From here, you'll need to cut off the other side of your funnel. Typically, you want to use the Archer Queen here to set that up, as she has 2 abilities that can both protect herself and provide additional damage, which speeds up the funneling for your attack. I would recommend taking an Ice Golem in this case for her so she can safely clear a funnel before using her abilities to get more down. Alternatively, you can use her Magic Mirror and Healer Puppet combo along with a Golem or Ice Golem if you lack the action figure or don't have it leveled up yet. Now that you have a funnel set on either side from your Royal Champion Charge and the Archer Queen, it's time to send in your Root Riders, Valkyries, and Healers into the base. You additionally want to have support from your heroes such as the recalled Royal Champion, Grand Warden, along with the Minion Prince to keep your army moving, while having troops like Balloons to tank for Seeking Air Mines, the Apprentice Warden for additional HP, and even an Ice Golem for more tanking and a freeze, but you should also be using the Troop Launcher in this situation to add additional support with Balloons to soak up traps, along with an extra Root Rider and Ice Golem to help your push out. As you work inside the base, you want to use Overgrowth spells to keep your push alive while controlling where they go. The placement of these depends on where the Town Hall is placed and if the pathing of your attack goes towards it or not. If your Root Riders are pathing around the core with the Town Hall offset, you can often run the Overgrowths later on the back end of the base, or if you're moving towards the Town Hall, you have the option of using an Overgrowth over the Town Hall and a couple other defenses, so as it expires, you can remove the Town Hall while most of your troops were protected by the Overgrowth. Or you can use it within the core to shut down defenses there and just remove the Town Hall easily with your Root Riders and Valkyries. Otherwise, a core Town Hall should be overgrowthed to prevent too much damage and to keep good pathing for your Root Rider push. With your Overgrowth spell placed and troops moving in, I do recommend using an early Dark Orb ability, as the slow on defenses can be incredibly good and will prevent too much damage on your troops as you move into a given section of the base. This in turn will allow you to add additional support from the Henchman puppets to soak up air traps as they move along. As you path behind the Overgrowth defenses, however, use your Grand Warden's Healing Tome to both keep your healers protected and give your troops additional healing, while the Rage Gem buffs buffs the healer's healing output, giving them more healing on your troops and heroes. However, since this attack is not using the Eternal Tome, we will need to use a second overgrowth spell to control the pathing of our troops. This should be used to push your troops into the core, allowing your troops to target anything that was previously covered up. Since you have a lot of units working into the core of the base, there isn't a lot that can stop the push thanks to the healing you have at this point. Any additional spells like freeze or skeleton spells should be used around this time to help keep back-end defenses distracted away from your root riders and heroes. In the cases where you have a core invisibility spell tower to deal with, you can use the ice block spell here instead. This can act as a way to keep your troops and heroes healed up before they dive into the core, thanks to the damage reduction it has, and it can also prevent them from moving until the defensive invisibility spell wears off. Just remember to always use any leftover troops as cleanup, such as archers or super barbarians, so you do not end up time failing as I so often did while crafting this guide. With an understanding of how this army works, this army comp is really all you need to take out max Town Hall 17s as a Town Hall 15. However, let's give you a visual example of how this works so you never fail with this army. To start off, we're going to be using our Royal Champion with her Rocket Spear. This is going to clear out some of the early defenses here and also create a little bit of pathing for us while we are setting up the Royal Champion charge. This way we can use the Grand Warden along with our Royal Champion to provide support with the Rage Gem. We're going to be using our invisibility spells here every 4 seconds. And since the Royal Champion doesn't necessarily have a ton of personal damage, we're able to use the Warden's Rage Gem to buff that up as we move through. Having no Spirit Fox is definitely a downside, but we should be able to get great value with our invisibility spells and recalling them out once all of them are exhausted and we've gotten a good amount of value. That way we can set up funneling over on the other side. With the Archer Queen being used with her action figure and magic mirror, this is going to establish enough funneling for us to send our root riders in. So now that we have 2 funnels set, we can then go ahead and use our root riders, balloons, Valkyries, healers, the Ice Golem, Apprentice Warden, and our heroes to start working in. Obviously, we have the troop launcher to provide additional protection for both our minion prints and healers, but as we start to work inside the base, an overgrowth over the core. Since the Town Hall here in this situation is fairly easy to deal with, we can use the Dark Orb of the Minion Prince to slow down everything around there and work themselves around the core of the base. The Town Hall is fairly exposed, so it allows us to use our Healing Tome to keep everything alive and of course protect our healers. As we start to work towards the back end and work behind these defenses, we can use an overgrowth spell to lock everything there in place, so we can use an ice block spell to protect most of our troops from the Crusher Mortar while the Invis Tower goes off. This way we have enough of a push to really dive into the core, deal with these key defenses, and we still have a few spells on the back end, namely something like a poison and freeze spell that you can use at crushing through back end heroes and defenses. And realistically, once you have this, you have more than enough. Just be sure to have enough cleanup from things like the archers, super barbarians, or really any other troops that you have left over. You should be able to crush Town Hall 17s as a Town Hall 15 no matter what. As you encounter more Town Hall 17s, this Town Hall 15 army should give you a safe way to 3-star, or at the very least 2-star no matter the design. Might be tricky at first, but will become a reliable go-to strategy when dealing with mismatches within CWL. However, I do recommend checking out this video as I covered the best equipment combos, while YouTube says this one is the best for you.